Selamat siang, Bapak dan Ibu semua. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih sudah bergabung pada acara webinar Queensland Hour series pada sore ini. Nama saya Irma Irsyad, saya dari Trade and Investment Queensland atau kami biasa disingkat dengan TIQ. Mungkin Bapak Ibu ada yang belum tahu apa itu TIQ. TIQ adalah kantor perwakilan pemerintah Queensland. Queensland adalah salah satu negara bagian di Australia yang membantu untuk menjembatani hubungan antara Queensland dan Indonesia, terutama di bidang perdagangan dan investasi. Sebagai salah satu bentuk untuk menjembatani hubungan tersebut, kami membantu promosikan kapabilitas perusahaan-perusahaan dan institusi-institusi di Queensland. Tujuan kami mengadakan Queensland Hour webinar series ini adalah supaya kolega-kolega kami di Indonesia tetap bisa dapat mendapatkan informasi-informasi terbaru dari Queensland, terutama di bidang pendidikan dan pelatihan. Oleh karena itu akan ada pembicara yang berbeda pada setiap sesinya dalam beberapa bulan ke depan. Pembicara kita hari ini adalah para bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu dari Outsource Institute atau biasa disingkat juga dengan OI. Mereka adalah metals and training provider dari Queensland. Ada 4 orang speaker hari ini. Yang pertama itu adalah Bapak Carl Spruce. Beliau adalah director dari OI. Yang kedua adalah Bapak Steve Love, beliau adalah Managing Director dari OI. Dan ada juga Bapak Mel Dsouza, beliau adalah International Business Development Consultant. Dan yang terakhir Ibu Hayley Gorlitz-Wilson sebagai Marketing Director dari OI. Judul webinar kita hari ini adalah Engineering Your Future. Beberapa housekeeping rules. Speaker, Bapak dan Ibu sudah dalam keadaan mute, jadi apabila ada pertanyaan silakan tuliskan pada Q&A box di bawah screen Anda, dan nanti pada akhir session akan dijawab oleh para Bapak dan Ibu pembicara. Dan sesi ini juga akan kami rekam untuk tujuan pembelajaran, jadi apabila ada peserta yang sebenarnya sudah mendaftar tapi tidak bisa hadir pada hari ini, supaya mereka bisa tetap dapat melihat rekamannya pada channel YouTube TIQ. Jadi TIQ juga punya channel YouTube ya. Dan sebagai informasi untuk Bapak dan Ibu, program Advanced Diploma of Engineering memberikan siswa Indonesia pendidikan kejuruan di Australia di bidang engineering. Jadi jalur karir berbasis keterampilan ini diisi dengan banyak keterampilan yang dapat ditransfer, jadi istilahnya itu transferable skills, seperti keterampilan drafting dan desain, dan bagaimana mengawasi instalasi dan maintenance dari mesin-mesin. Siswa yang mengikuti program ini juga akan dapat mengembangkan proses dan principles, project management, quality systems, dan juga team building, ya, yang paling penting. Dan trainer dan guru-guru di OI, mereka sangat berpengalaman pada bidangnya dan mempunyai pengalaman kerja lebih dari 50 tahun dan mereka berhubungan baik, punya hubungan yang baik, sangat baik dengan industri di Queensland. Dan setelah menyelesaikan course ini, siswa dapat bekerja sebagai engineering technician atau associate, dan siswa pada program ini juga akan dapat melanjutkan pendidikan kepada jenjang yang lebih tinggi ya, yaitu melalui program University Pathways dengan beberapa universitas di Queensland. Jadi yang University of Queensland, Griffith University, University of Southern Queensland, James Cook University, and also Southern Cross University. Now, enough of me talking, then I'd like to turn to our speakers. For all our speakers today, just to give you a background information that most of our attendees today, they are mostly as counselors from schools, education agents, and also migration agents. And also professionals from different industries across sectors in Indonesia, as well as lecturers. We have a few lecturers from vocational colleges, polytechnics, and also a few from university. And thank you also for those who are attending today that actually come from different sectors that I've mentioned earlier. And as we all know, I'm sure that everybody attending today will agree with me that educations change lives. So we all here are excited and eager to learn how engineering courses at OI could also change lives for students in Indonesia. So without further ado, I'd like to hand this session over to our first speaker, Mr. Bapak Carl Spruce. Over to you, Carl.
Has everybody got me now? Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. And my dog. Yeah, welcome to this. Welcome to this webinar. Today we'll be covering all the aspects of what Outsource can do internationally and domestically through the international student engagement, and also while we're here, some engagement with our long-term clients. As interns and skilled migration type situation for those students coming through. So it's Outsource an Australian organisation and founded in 1998. So we've been around a long time. Most of our time has been working directly with business, so business to business in the mining, defence, manufacturing and engineering sector. So that's our speciality. And then 3 years ago, we looked at all of our offerings and we thought, well, we have a quality product for advanced diploma of engineering. And we looked at the CRICOS and international student market, and we've since been in that game. Unfortunately, of course, COVID has affected us all. So we're still here, and we're back into the promotion of this opportunity. So we always pride ourselves at Outsource within that we deal with everybody with integrity and quality, and that we value education highly. It is something that can never be taken away from anybody, young and old, is your education. And it changes lives, as we know. We all know that. So it increases your earning power, it increases your cultural standing. There's a whole range of things that are affected by your ability to be educated and get a good education. So Outsource, we believe education changes lives. Are we going to do the video, Hayley? Yeah.
Outsource Institute of Technology delivers a wide range of programs, from 1- and 2-day short courses to Certificate 2, 3 and 4 to advanced diploma qualifications that are recognised Australia-wide. Outsource Institute specialises in training apprentices, upskilling and effective workforce planning. Outsource Institute's engineering qualifications are designed to help with advancing or starting your career in the mining, manufacturing or energy sectors. Outsource Institute of Technology courses: maintenance, refrigeration and air conditioning, instrumentation, fluid power, drafting, engineering and welding. All of the training is delivered in a flexible, client-focused manner using a combination of learning platforms. Whether it's at the workplace, online, or at Outsource Institute's training facilities, the training is always delivered at the convenience of the client. Outsource Institute of Technology offers blended training deliveries that are designed to accommodate our clients' needs, skill levels, and availability. This allows our highly experienced and knowledgeable trainers and assessors to make the process seamless and relevant. At Outsource Institute, we also offer a consultative approach to their learning. Our training development specialists are available to meet to discuss training needs at our client's discretion. Funded course programs are available for selected courses offered by Outsource Institute. Outsource Institute offer payment plans to assist with course costs. With the use of a payment plan, course payments can be spread across 6 to 12-month instalments, as opposed to a lump sum payment. Outsource Institute of Technology prides itself on building relationships with its clients. We endeavour to work with our clients to offer flexible and customised training solutions that inspire a positive impact on business operations and overall staff performance.
So, as you can see, that video was taken a few years ago before Cricos, but our relationship with industry is very, very strong. We work with some of the world's biggest engineering and mining companies on a regular basis, training their advanced trades staff and also into their paraprofessional engineering staff. So, for example, paraprofessional engineering would be a welding supervisor and welding inspector type guy. We do that. Skill sets in advanced hydraulics, pneumatics, air conditioning, and so on. Very, very common thing that we would do at Outsource. And of course, the engineering covers is a huge field. Now, just to finish up my component of this, the news that we're getting in Australia now, and this is due to COVID, Australia has always needed technical, skilled people. That's, you know, it's a growing country and we need trade staff, and we have a small population. It's just fundamental to Australia. We have a small population and therefore we need more people to do more work. But the acute shortages on a medium to long-term skill shortage list are becoming more and more acute. So any of the areas that we cover, which is Advanced Diploma of Engineering with the civil outcome, specialised welding and so on and so forth, they are all in high need and high demand here right now today. It's in the papers, it's been reported on the news, it's been reported through all of our training industry feeds, info feeds, etc. So, and just the other day that the universities in Australia are adapting their delivery model to expedite the production of engineers. And I think they're looking at some kind of 2-year full-time and then or followed by a 2-year part-time process where the person goes to industry and maintains their study status while they're studying. So that's something that we are very, very comfortable doing. That's something we do all the time, and it's something that our international students coming to Australia will experience, because we have hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of clients that are crying out for engineering, specialised engineering staff right now today. So the opportunity to get educated and then transport into a highly paid professional role in Australia, I couldn't imagine a better time to do it. So that's about me now, guys. Thanks very much for listening, and I hope everything's going well in Indonesia with the fight against COVID. I hope everyone's safe and healthy. Is that me, Hals? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. As Carl mentioned, that we've been in engineering for quite some time now, and just and with part of that process, we've worked with many different companies, and hopefully there are some there that you recognise within the mining, manufacturing and defence industries. And not just from the trade point of view. As you can see there, we've worked in the Advanced Diploma of Engineering for some time with their sort of back of house staff, you could call it, in bringing them up to that advanced level, working on some major projects within those companies. I mean, BHP is, I think, the biggest mining company in the world, if not one of the biggest, along with the defence capability that we're looking for as well. Part of what we do is upskilling into tradesmen to that next level up, which can be from their trade to the certificate for and then pathways through. To do that, we use our industry partnerships, as you can see on the screen. We've established these over many years, and with advanced hydraulics through custom fluid power, advanced pneumatics through SMC, and the welding through Weld Australia. These are very recognised organisations within Australia, and have a global reach with custom fluid power not only being in Australia but all over the world. SMC is the #1 pneumatics company in the world, and with Weld Australia having recognised the advanced welding certification in structural and pressure vessels. Along the way, we've also partnered with Workforce Success, which provide us the avenue to assist with recruitment and employment, and give some opportunity to anyone studying with us to have access to some of the employers that we engage with. A few years ago, before COVID, as Carl mentioned, it sort of knocked everyone around a bit, but we had a delegation from Indonesia on a tour, and this is just a photo that was taken of that group, that we took a tour of custom fluid power and also SMC pneumatics, just to show the reach that we do have within Australia and the connection with industry that we have. So although we're here to talk about the advanced diploma of engineering, any of the trade aspects from someone who's already qualified and wishing to migrate to Australia can utilise us as part of that pathway through our connections and upskilling programs. We can definitely put people in touch with employers, whether it be through our Workforce Success connection or many other various partners. We're also heavily involved with a number of networks within Australia. So AIDEN being one of them, which is the Defence Connection. DTC is another one. ITECA being the peak body for independent RTOs within Australia. Queensland Leaders and many others that provide us with a lot of up-to-date information on what is happening in industry. So that way we can align certain competencies and qualifications to what industry need, rather than just what we think everybody needs. This is these connections that we have. Part of that process also earlier this year was being certified ISO 9001. This is something that we've worked very hard to do in line with the standards or the ISO standards, proving that we have that quality product and that the quality systems in place to help deliver the programs that we offer. Thanks, Hayley.
Thanks, Steve. So I'm going to take over and talk a little bit about the university partnerships that we have, and also why we think Australia is something that should be on your radar, as well as particularly Brisbane. I won't hang on these points too much because I'm obviously biased. I live in Australia and I love it. And many of you would already be aware of the benefits of studying in Australia. Carl kindly pointed out before that the key things that you need to take away from today's session is that engineering has always been a skill shortage, and it's only grown because of a result of COVID. So what that means is that there's an abundance of opportunities for the students that you're sending to Australia. As Carl said, the articles in the paper, it's a daily occurrence that we are crying out for skilled engineers in Australia, and that's not going away. So keep that front of mind. And then the other part is to remember too that the Australian education system is one that is of very high quality. It is very robust. And what that also means is that the education that you get whilst you're here is hands-on and it's practical. And why Outsource is a benefit when that comes into play is because what the students learn with us in a classroom environment, they then get to go out and see in a workplace context as well because of our extensive network of employers. So the other benefits of Brisbane, I'll play a really quick video. It's 1 minute, super short. It just gives you a visual of what the students can expect when they come to study here in Brisbane, which is the new age city. It's the place that all of our southern brothers and sisters in Australia are migrating to because there are so many opportunities and the weather is amazing. Why wouldn't you want to be in Brisbane?
Brisbane's really welcoming to international students. I've been really surprised by how multicultural it is.
It's a vibrant city, cosmopolitan, culturally diverse.
You basically interact with people from all over the world.
Happy, vibrant, colorful. Every day in the city is like a celebration.
It's just so much warmth about the city, about the people, about everything.
I love living in Brisbane because the weather is good. It's always good.
Favorite thing about Brisbane? The main reason is the quality education.
The education that you get here will be world class.
I know that when I'm done with my degree, I'll have an internationally recognized qualification, which will open doors for me.
So hopefully now you're convinced. And then now you need to know why choose Outsource. So as it says there, we have very competitive course fees as well as wonderful scholarship opportunities. Now, Mel will come in a little bit and explain what those are. We have, as you've already heard from everybody who's spoken today, a very robust industry and employer network. So that gives the opportunities for our students to have internships and work placements. And then the last point, which is what that little image is there that you can see, is opportunities for our students to participate and get qualified in internationally recognized industry training. So what we have here is actually a couple of our students that have recently completed some augmented reality training with our industry partner, Weld Australia. So those students, our students, are already building a professional portfolio whilst they're studying with us because they're getting to interact with Australia's employer network. And just to highlight further the industry engagement, this is a quick video of our students out and about with our employer network.
A lot of businesses, would you colour their parts for them? Yes,
it's all contained, all the cans are contained, so that's a good thing.
Then we got the rotating lift.
That distance is real fine, about 100 million away.
Outside please.
You do get a bit of heat on there.
You do, yeah. That's why we normally check with the magnet first. Before we do a wet glove. Yeah. This is the stuff that was absolutely this stuff is not so long. You know where you're from.
And we get a rough drawing from the client on what they want, find what to do.
Wonderful. So we just wanted to show you some social proof of the students actually learning something in a classroom and then going out into the workplace and seeing that in action. And that's what our program is all about, is that practical application of what is being learnt in the classroom. And I know you're all very interested to learn about what pathways are in place. So if they don't want to go down straight into an employment pathway, what happens then is that they then fall into one of our university articulation partner pathways. So we actually have 5 university partners, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with the logos that you see on your screen. 3 of these universities have regional status. So Mel will talk a little bit more later about the immigration benefits of that. And from a scholarship perspective as well, there are benefits there too. So for example, Southern Cross University, once you've finished your advanced diploma with Outsource, they'll then give you up to a year and a half off a Bachelor's of Engineering with them as well, because they are regionally located. There's something called a Destination Australia Scholarship. So students can look forward to potentially receiving $15,000 a year scholarship for up to 4 years. And there's other scholarships as well that are offered by these other providers that are listed, some of which can be anywhere ranging from 20% up to 50% off your course fees at those universities. So this is obviously a discussion that we would have later in the piece, but it's just important to know what your pathway will look like once you study with us and where that can then lead to. So super quickly, with James Cook University, that's an exclusive announcement that we've got for you now. It's a partnership that is just being signed off as we speak, and that will come into play before the end of the year. But all of the other pathways we have there, as you will see, the students are looking at, on average, a year to a year and a half off a Bachelor's of Engineering. So it's nice that our qualifications allow for that progression for those people that want to choose an academic pathway. I'll now hand over to Mel, who will talk a little bit more about the much awaited and anticipated Advanced Diploma of Engineering. Thanks so much, Mel.
I'm so sorry. I started talking, didn't realize I've been on mute. So apologies. So thank you for the opportunity. I see about 31 of you joined us this evening or afternoon. I thank TIQ for making this possible as well, and giving Outsource the opportunity, the platform to come straight into your living room or into your offices, which otherwise would not be possible. So thank you again. My role with Outsource is specifically in the area of promoting the Advanced Diploma of Engineering. As Irma introduced, you all come from different parts, different sectors of education or engineering in some shape or form. So we'll try to get everything together in a holistic manner. So the Advanced Diploma of Engineering is a program that, as Hayley said, is articulated at the university. Very importantly, I think Australia shares a very close relationship with Indonesia, and has been for a very long time. I believe it's been more than 70 odd years international students have been coming from Indonesia to study in Australia. So that relationship is already there. I don't think we need to establish any credibility in that aspect. Australian qualifications have already been respected, always been respected, and students from Indonesia have always preferred Australia as the closest destination. I've had students in the past where families or parents prefer students coming to Australia to study. The most important reason, because they can get on a plane and five hours later they can be in Australia with the students. So one of the biggest reasons why Indonesian students prefer to study with us. So the course which we have designed is quite unique in its way. As Hayley, Carl, and Steve have already mentioned, the relationship, the partnership. What I'm going to emphasize, the fact is the outcomes that you're going to look at after graduating from these courses. Generally, when I personally talk to international students, I generally ask them 3 options. What would you want to do after you graduate? Some students prefer to study the course and head back home because they've got work opportunities already lined up back in Indonesia. If they're coming from a work environment, they're coming to upskill. So that's one of the reasons why they would come. Secondly, they would come here to study and possibly work in Australia. And the third would be to come and study, work, and possibly live in Australia. So that is the outcome students want to achieve. So to achieve these outcomes, the entry requirements for our course are pretty standard, pretty easy to get into. Students who generally would come into these programs, one of the two reasons would be that they want a pathway to university and could not get into university because of the high level entry requirements. So our partnership with the universities basically makes it easier for students to pathway with IELTS of 5.5. Academic requirement, we minimum require them to have year 12. If students have done any diploma or technical courses back in Indonesia, that also feeds as an entry requirement into our courses as well. Every application is on its own merit as well. So if you have unique students, if you have counselors here or teachers from schools, please note that students with different backgrounds, can also, who've got interest in engineering, can apply, and we work on a case-by-case basis, specifically to understand their background or understand where they're coming from as well. So that's quite important as well. Now, Hayley also pointed out that we have got scholarships happening as well. So we've got a current scholarship specifically to address the biggest issue we have at the moment, COVID. So we understand that because of COVID, a lot of people have been affected in different ways. So we currently have a COVID scholarship that's happening, and we will be running through the 2022 as well. So it's an $8,000 scholarship that we are offering, which is quite big. If you convert it to your local currency, you would understand that it is quite a big chunk. But I think that is our contribution to get students to choose the qualification, because a lot of the students have put international education on hold, specifically because of COVID reasons. So we would like to encourage that to bring them back. After the qualification, definitely students are looking at outcomes. As I mentioned to you, the students who opt to live in Australia or to work in Australia, some of the outcomes that you can look at is working in these fields after you've graduated. However, our program, for the purposes of work visa, had to be assigned. So as you can see on your screen, our qualification does meet a requirement which is listed on the medium to long-term skill list, which is specifically to do with civil engineering outcomes. Even though the qualification highlights all engineering aspects, we had to choose one which could get a student a work visa option. So we had to go with the civil engineering draftsperson. I don't want engineers from other areas to be disappointed, because our engineering course is not civil specific. It covers a lot of mechanical and other areas of other areas of engineering as well. But we had to pick one, so we had to pick with the civil for the work visa option. So you get a work visa option for 18 months. The recent announcement by the Department of Home Affairs is that students who would otherwise get 18-month work visa, that's been revised to 2 years now. It's just been advertised, or not been advertised, but it's been released. That is still coming into play, but I'm just letting you know in advance that students who otherwise would get an 18-month work visa are now qualifying for a 2-year work visa. So you do a 2-year work study leading to a 2-year work visa. As you see, the average salary is about $82,000. Now, I'm not saying every graduate is going to get $82,000. What I'm trying to say is that's the average median salary for a graduate who has got advanced diploma in engineering as a qualification. You may be slightly higher if you've got previous experience. You may be slightly lower if you're just an entry-level engineer coming into play. But what I would like to highlight the fact here is our course phase is at the moment sitting at $21,000. So if you look at it as a 2-year program, and the return on investment is fairly significant once you have graduated from your program. So technically speaking, within about a half a year, you can earn the money that you invested in studying straight up. So that's pretty important for parents as well, as a matter of fact, because if you're taking a bank loan or you're taking borrowing from family, this is a good opportunity to understand that how are you going to be repaying back this loan or this money back to your parents if you're students here. So that's pretty important as well. In terms of employment, students who are studying with us at the moment, I spoke about the scholarship, so that's on the screen there, right there for you. So in terms of the outcomes, in terms of employability, most of the students actually start doing internship or work placement as they are studying the course. We don't really wait for you to graduate. Unlike in universities, you tend to graduate and then go into a work placement. At Outsource, as Steve pointed out and Carl pointed out, the employer network that we have, or the industry network that we have, we always have an opportunity for students who are currently studying to be placed for internship and work placement. Even though it's not a requirement of the course, we still encourage a lot of our students to go out in the industry. And I always say this, you don't have to go and find part-time work driving Ubers or working in a restaurant or whatever. If you can get employability within engineering itself while you're studying, it can't get any better. And at Outsource, we strive to get you into the industry even before you graduate, which means while you're studying, you're actually working in engineering, which means by the time you graduate, you're not a new person or you're not an entry-level person. You've already got 6 months, 1 year of experience in whatever sector of engineering you may be wanting to get into. So these are certain highlights of our qualification, which get you the outcome into what you want. In terms of migration, there's definitely an opportunity. We are not a migration agent, but what we see from our past experience and students who are graduating out of engineering, they're all finding employment. As Carl pointed out right at the start, engineering companies at the moment in Australia are crying out for people. Australia always depends on international students for skilled labor. And Indonesia being so close to us, I think we rely very heavily on the skilled labor coming out of the region as well. I believe with Indonesia, what I learned and what I know is Indonesia, I think the 4th largest economies for us in terms of student market as well, coming out of there. There is a massive, more than I think 50 million of the population is under the age of 30, which makes it really, really critical and crucial for us, Australia, to be looking at Indonesia as for our skilled labor and for infrastructure development and project development in the future. I'm not sure how many of you are aware here, but Queensland, where we are, has bagged Olympics for 2032, which basically means there's a lot of work happening from now until then. A lot of infrastructure work, a lot of engineering projects, not only in Brisbane, but around the state, which again is a perfect timing if you or your students or your colleagues are considering this change to do it now, to do it this year, simply because by the time you graduate, by the time you get work experience, it's about 4 or 5 years down the track. You are in a perfect position to get into this whole massive boom that's coming along as well. So I won't really go on with this. I will just stop here. I will be very happy to answer any questions. So I'll pass it back to Irma to take over from here. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you very much for Carl, Steve, Mel, and Hayley for the very interesting information. That average salary of $82,000 is very interesting, especially the scholarship as well. Now let's move on to the next session of the webinar, the question and answer session. Let's dive into the first question. We already have the first one. Hold on here, let me check the first question. One of our attendees today asked, do students have opportunity to intern after they have completed their advanced diploma program? Who would like to tackle this question?
I think I can take that, Irma.
Okay, over to you, Mel. Thank you.
As I was just, when I signed off, I mentioned that the work placement opportunity, while it is not a part of the course, so it is not a course requirement, we as industry training organization, so Outsource prides itself being an industry training organization, and we've got partners all around the country. So we always recommend our students to seek internship and work placements within our network. And our network is not restricted to Queensland, it's nationwide. So while students are studying, of course, we would like them to seek work placements within Queensland or within Brisbane. But once they graduate, we are always pushing them to seek opportunities, not only in Queensland, but across the country, specifically because apart from Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, the entire country is classified as regional. which basically offers a lot of advantage and opportunities for students to travel, not only for work, but also to understand how the regionals work, and mostly, and Carl or Stephen can correct me if I'm wrong here, is most of the engineering companies, they are not, or mining companies for that matter, don't necessarily sit within Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane city there, because their mine sites are all across the country. So they would like people to travel. And as Carl pointed out, we are low on skilled labor. There are companies wanting people to travel. So simple answer is yes, we can provide work placement. However, we propose them to be in Brisbane while they're studying. Once they graduate, we'd like them to go and seek other opportunities. If they find a work placement, I would like to also highlight the fact that students who do work placement tend to be employed by the same employer if they prove their mettle or prove themselves. So if that's the case, we are very happy for them to stay. But if they want to explore the country and travel and look at other companies, absolutely, there's an opportunity for all.
Yeah, Mel, I'm just going to piggyback off that and say that we actually, Steve touched on it as well. We have a number of industry partners, one in particular, Workforce Success, that is a recruitment organisation here in Australia. And so for our existing international students, we get their resumes very early on in the piece, and we actually start putting it out to that network so that they can be getting jobs that are related in engineering in a casual capacity, as well as for those that as they come closer to graduation for full-time employment as well. So we definitely utilize our networks to give the students from an employability perspective, those opportunities, as well as embedding it in the program, allowing them to get out and mix amongst our employer network too.
Thank you both. That sounds very interesting. So these students, if they do internship during their school years, there's a bigger opportunity of being employed by that company or different companies, because of the work experience. And oops, we've got another question from Ibu Yanti. I wonder if student able to apply for 485 visa after they finish their study. Who would like to handle that?
I'll take this one as well. The simple answer is yes. As I was mentioning in the last thing, the course outcome for 485, we have to select one employment outcome or skill outcome. So we have selected a civil engineering draftsperson as the outcome, which is on the MLT SSL list. So the students graduating from our courses meet the skill assessment requirement for that position. However, students can specialize thereafter, but to apply for a 485, our student graduates are coming out with civil engineering draftsperson as the skill assessment requirement for 485.
Thank you, Mel. That is great. She said, awesome. Thank you, Huyanti. We hope that answered your question. Let's move on to our next question. Okay, we touched this on earlier. This is about the pathway. So one of our attendees asked, what are the university pathways and or employment opportunities available for our high school students?
Well, I think I'd like to take that and say that a high school student leaving high school, the age of 17 or 16, 17 in Indonesia would be exactly the same profile of person that would leave a school here in Australia. They're wondering about what they want to do with their life and so on. Some of them have set ideas. I'm going to become an engineer or a doctor or whatever it may be. So it's just a normal process that any person of that age would go through. But it's really about picking your institute that you feel fits your needs. And keep in mind that, if you choose the wrong one, the wrong course, and you get a year into it, it's not the end of the world. You can change to another course. For example, if you chose engineering, you could go into another area that is, a little quicker. It might be drafting, for example, and then go and get a job in a quick amount of time, or maybe you just say, I want to be a doctor, or whatever it may be, or I don't want to be anything. I just want to do what I want to do. So it's a worldwide phenomenon that should be approached by the students with, it's not a life or death situation. It's an opportunity to learn. So the engagement with an institute is totally personal. What we will try and do at Outsource is to make that as most interactive with industry, with like-minded people, and all due care of the student and their learning experience. That's what we can offer that in that space. So, and that's part of our overall culture at Outsource, is to value education and deliver it in an ethical, meaningful way. So.
Thanks, Carl. I agree. And I'd probably add to that as well. My personal journey was through a vocational pathway first, and then I went to university after that. And so for me, and this is probably what I would impress upon the students as well, is when you're not quite sure what you want to do, a vocational qualification like the Advanced Diploma of Engineering is a really great way to start, because the risks associated with doing that are very low. It's the cost to go to university, if you're not sure, is quite high. So by coming to a provider like ourselves and doing an advanced diploma, at the end of that, you still walk away with a piece of paper, you'll walk away with some more clarity, and you also open up multiple options and doorways, because you can either, like we've learned today, go into employment and find your feet there and then explore that, or you can go into university. And pretty much like what Carl has just said, is that it's a jungle gym now. It's not necessarily a ladder, but this is a really good place to make that first step, because, as we said, the risks associated are a lot lower, and engineering has many facets, as Mel highlighted as well. So a really good place for you to start.
Thank you both. Yeah, as we can see, the cost, if you do advanced diploma engineering, is 21,000. It's almost half of the cost of going to university. Yeah, so that's not bad. It's a good option. I hope that answered your question, Bapak atau Ibu. And let's move on to the next question. Ibu Nyanyu Latifa asks, is there any cooperation that we can make between your institution and our higher vocational college?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I fully support that, but I think Hale's, we've been talking to an Indian institute and the Indian Mining Council about this very thing. I think what I can envisage, and it's been done before, is that whatever the institute is delivering in Indonesia, we can have a look at what they're doing, they can have a look at what we're doing, and then that marries up so that the graduates out of the Indonesian system can seamlessly move into our process. So yes, please, if there's anybody out there that wants to discuss that, I think it's a really good opportunity for a smooth pathway from Indonesian education through to Australian education and ultimately Australian residency.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd second that. And I would just say that anybody who is interested in having that conversation, we would take that into obviously a separate meeting. So please just go through Irma and she can facilitate that introduction. But the short answer is yes, we would love to collaborate. So let's talk.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Ibu Nyanyu, we'll be in touch soon, yeah, after the webinar. Thank you for the question. Very good. Hayley, would that be okay if I share the presentation materials later to all attending today?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you. Let's move on to our next question. Okay. This is one question from one of the attendees. What are the field of work that is currently in demand for international students graduated in Brisbane, graduated from Brisbane?
I think I can take this question. It is quite a generic question that has been put forward, and I would say Australia as a country, keeping Brisbane aside, Australia as a country is very specifically pushing STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as a sector, because they understand and believe that that's what will get Australia progressive in terms of technology and engineering. So a lot of focus has been given. So it's not specific to Brisbane, but it's specific to the country as a whole as well. Now, if you had to talk about what field of work is currently in demand, as Outsource, we specialize in engineering, and that's what we do as Outsource. But there is a long list of outcomes or jobs that students can look at. I think one of the slides that Hayley had up was the MLT SSL list. Please have a look at the MLT SSL list because when we share the slides, you can look at it. It goes from health sector to hospitality to engineering. So there are a lot of scope, you know. But at Outsource, we specifically focused on engineering, and because that's what we do, and that's what we do really well. And that's what we've been doing for the last 20 years. So we'll be absolutely happy to share any information that you would like about engineering and outcomes of engineering. Unfortunately, I will not be able to provide any further information in any other sector because we don't do that at the moment.
Thank you very much, Mel. Engineering, yeah. So that's one of the most in demand for international students.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to our next question.
Could I just, sorry.
Yes, please.
I'd just like to say that, yeah, there's the skill shortages across the board, you know, not to sort of limit the opportunities for the students. There's skill shortages across the board, health, you know, as Mel said, but we specifically deal with the engineering sector. I just want to reinforce that statement. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, this is one of the questions that were asked. This is about the scholarship. You guys mentioned before that at 8,000 scholarship, yeah? So what will be the requirement to apply for the scholarships, and when is the deadline to submit the application? Thank you.
Hayley, do you want to take it or should I?
Why don't we share? First up, I guess the short answer is there's not any requirement because it's something that we have offered as a result of COVID. So that's first up. However, that being said, at this point, it is definitely still going to be in place for our first intake, which is the 1st of February 2022. And then we will review it from there based on where everything is at in terms of, you know, borders opening and everything. So it's still there, but we will review it. And I'll let you jump in, Mel, now and say in terms of how do they access it?
Perfect. Thanks, Hayley. So as Hayley said, apart from the support that we're providing, not only to Indonesia, but globally as well, because of the COVID outcome, the scholarship is applied as a blanket opportunity for everybody. However, students have to meet the entry requirements as well. So we do have a placement test depending on, I think, the counselors in this meeting today would understand, student counselors or migration agents would understand that every country has got an assessment level, and we have an assessment level as well, which is a risk level. So our assessment level is 2. I believe Indonesia also is an assessment level 2 country. So based on that, the entry requirements or the GTE requirements change, like students have to show financials or English language requirements. So they have to meet the entry requirements to qualify for the scholarship. That is a simple requirement. It's not over the top. As Hayley mentioned, we are definitely offering the scholarship to our Feb 2022 intake. We would also consider if students cannot make it for the Feb 2022 intake, however, are happy to apply and submit an application now for any subsequent intakes, which is going to be, we're going to look at May and possibly in October intake as well. we can accept the scholarship and we can lock that in for them now as well, because we do understand that visa processing does not happen overnight. It takes time because students have to get the documentation, get the processes in place as well, which takes about anywhere from 1 month to about 3 months, and visa processing would take another 4 weeks to about 12 weeks as well. So given that is a requirement, if you believe that you have students, or if you are a student, if you want to put in your application now and lock in the scholarship, do that, please. It could be for the May intake, it could be for the July, it could be for the October next year. That's absolutely fine. But submit your application, submit your expression of interest so we can lock it in for you for 2022. So I hope I've answered the question, Irma.
Yeah, I'm just going to add into that too, Mel, is that in terms of the course fee, at the moment it's 21,000, like you have mentioned, with the scholarship as well. But once everything opens up and starts flowing again as normal, that fee will increase. So it's really in your best interest, if you are looking at this and seriously considering it, as Mel has suggested today, lock it in, submit an enrollment form, get everything packaged up and ready, because once everything starts flowing again, we will be increasing the price. It was purely around that COVID situation as to why we lowered the course fees.
Thank you, guys. I'm conscious of the time, so this will be last question for today. Ibu Sriana from, Ibu Sriana. She asked, most students study at OI are high school graduates?
I can answer first, Mel, and then you can jump in as well. Is no. Well, when I say no, it's mixed. So it's not no, it's mixed. So the backgrounds, I think that may have been covered previously, as in the backgrounds are quite broad. We have some students that have already been engineers in their home country that are then coming to Australia to look to upskill. And then we do have students that are straight out of high school that are looking to start their career journey. So it is mixed. It is mixed genders as well, and mixed ages as well. So it's which I think is what gives it the excitement that it has in the classroom, is because when you are working on some of those projects, like we mentioned earlier, you're getting an array of experience that comes into play in those group teamwork dynamics. So it's mixed, and also mixed nationalities as well, and domestic students that blend in there too. So it gives you a really good exposure to a bit of everything. Isn't that right, Mel?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's really important. One thing I would like to highlight, as Hayley said, while we get people from diverse age groups and diverse backgrounds, it's important to note we are working in multiple markets. Our nationality mix is quite varied. We've got students from India, Nepal, Philippines, Africa, even from PNG, we had a student as well. So the mix is pretty diverse. Now, remember one thing, if you already have engineering skills and you're coming into this course, unlike a year 12 student who has no experience, while you are studying the same course, the approach that we're going to have towards you is going to be different to the one from year 12. Like, for example, a work placement would be far more quicker for a person who's coming with experience than a student who's just coming out of year 12. So we balance that out depending on the background of the student. And it's quite important and critical for us to recognize that, simply because we don't want a student who's from an engineering background waiting for a year to get a work placement because he already has the skills. And guess what? Because employers are always asking for people, and we definitely tweak the training plan or the training modules so that students coming with experience or technical experience or technical backgrounds can get placed and get into work placement sooner than just year 12 students. So that's a fine balancing act that we do, because we're a training organization. That's what we do really well, understand the student's background and just cater to the needs of those cohort of students.
Yeah, absolutely. And a classic example was we had an architect from the Philippines that joined us, who had a lot of the CAD drafting skills that was already a requirement or something that would be learnt in the program. And because we did the initial interviews and we got the copy of the resume and everything, really, like at the very get-go, we were able to look to place that person and to get them work experience. So that particular student was actually doing CAD drafting work and working in civil engineering within less than a couple of months of being in Australia. So we definitely cater it to the individual, and that starts from the very moment that they're enrolled, and we are touching base and working with them for their goals as they move throughout that program as well.
Thank you both. I hope that answered Ibu Sriana's question. Yeah, we are over time, so I hate to say that that was our last question for the day, and I would like to thank for all our speakers today for sharing your valuable information and time with us, and for all our attendees today. Thank you for all your questions and for staying with us until the end of the webinar. We hope that all the information provided today is useful and could be taken away as key learnings for you all. What happened in the next few days, TIQ will send an email including a link to the recording of this webinar, and also included the presentation materials today, so attendees could see them as well. And also a survey. This is very important. If Bapak dan Ibu tidak berkeberatan, fill those questions in so that we could improve our future session with you all. And also included our contact details, TIQ, and also OI. If you have any question, comments, or would like to get in touch with us, all the information is there. And we hope to see you again in our next Queensland Hour session with TIQ Indonesia. And stay safe, stay healthy, and be happy. Selamat sore Bapak dan Ibu, terima kasih banyak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye now.